What's up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Charm City Heavyweights Podcast, brought to you by Grade 8 Sports Memorabilia in Parkville, Maryland. I'm the host, Matt Trigger. With me, as always, is my co-host, Josh Merrill. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, man? Coming live from the man cave, watching some Thursday night football. Got the Super Bowl rings on the night. Detroit don't know nothing about it. Uh, can't wait for Sunday.
Yes, it's been a relatively quiet week with the Ravens so far. Our Detroit Lions guests will be joining us, shortly. Um, Noticed a new name on the injury report earlier today. Ronald Darby missed practice. Odafe Owe looks like he's going to be a go. This is probably going to be a game time decision type of thing. We're getting kind of healthy towards the middle of the year, which is a good sign. Yeah, I'm
Dafi
looking
Owe, they
forward
said, is
to
getting
seeing a
close.
complete football team out there.
I'm excited.
He
Can
is.
Tyus
Yeah, he
Bowser
said that
come
he
back? Like,
had
what the
limited.
fuck is going on, man? What is going on with
He's done,
Tyus?
bro. I
Like,
think he's done this year.
Harbaugh's throwing shots.
But this is the same thing that happened to Ronnie Stanley with Harbaugh. Harbaugh is probably so pissed off answering questions at this point that he is putting it solely on the shoulders of Bowser because we don't know what's going on. It's been a non-football injury list. We don't know if it's a recovery from the off-season surgery he had or if it's something else going on. I hope he's okay, but I don't see him coming off that 21-day window and playing this year. I think that he's probably going to be reverted back to season-ending injury reserve because he's taking up a roster spot at this point.
He is, and yeah, it's kind of. I mean, he's going to play or he's not. I don't know what's going on with it. There's something. I know the Ravens keep making it clear that it's a non-football injury.
Yeah, Harbaugh's done a very good job of that, and
because that's probably contract.
If you would have told me back in July when we really started ramping up our football coverage for the year that the top two pass rushers on the Baltimore Ravens were going to be Jadeveon Clowney and Kyle Van Noy, I'd have probably laughed at you. And considering all of our young guys and the guys that we've paid good money to, Tyus Bowser being the guy we paid, the fact that none of them have seen the field for more than 50% of the games, if not all of them. Ojabo's worrying me. I know that he's still kind of recovering from the Achilles tear.
They were saying last week that he's like getting close to practicing.
But yeah, getting close to practicing and getting close to playing in a game are two far different things.
Oh yeah, I know that. But I mean, at least there's hope, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm just a little worried now. We're starting to get to the meaty part of the schedule. This is the part of the schedule where we are starting to see some more physical, hard-hitting football teams. We got Detroit this week. We have Seattle coming up.
We're going to learn a lot about this team and the kind of season it's going to be really soon.
This Sunday. We're going to
see. San Fran's coming up in San Fran.
On Christmas, yes. So that's about just shy of 7 weeks out, which is crazy to think Christmas is that close. I'm really, worried about Seattle. They're a sneaky good team, and I think that they're going to give us a little bit of problems. But that's not what we're talking about. This week, Amon-Ra Brown is like the guy that scares me the most for these guys, and I know we'll talk more when our guests do come on to the show. I just think that it's going to be one of those situations where we're going to have to give him all the attention because they're missing their starting running back this week, and we need to have a bounce back game in terms of a complete game because we left a lot of points on the field again.
We need to score in the red zone like we were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and I'm tired of hearing about miscommunication. I'm so fucking tired of that word, miscommunication. Get your shit together. Get your shit together in practice. Get your shit together in preparation.
And Moncton, I mean, I like Moncton and I like what he's trying to do, but he's got to like ramp it up. And I don't know if it's the defense just being better, making better adjustments to him in the second half, but his offense is not the same, man. It flutters out. The numbers start out strong in the beginning of the game, and as the game goes, they just fizzle to nothing. I mean, there's got to be some kind of level of consistency with it.
There absolutely
My
does.
concerns with Gus Edwards, he doesn't look explosive. He doesn't look right in this offense.
I know we talked about that a little bit on Sunday night, and we can kind of circle back to it now since you brought it up. I believe what Vinny Serrato said, and I said this on Sunday night. I'm gonna rehash it, and I'm gonna stick to it again tonight. Gus Edwards is not geared for this offense.
Doesn't appear like it.
As much as I want to say that this is a similar offense to the Greg Roman, I think a lot of it has to do with the blocking scheme, the running style doesn't mesh well. I think Justice Hill meshes better with this offense than Gus Edwards, and I think if you're John Harbaugh, you got to consider making it a complete 50-50 split and giving Hill a few more touches. And I'd like
the
to
problem
see them.
with that is I think Justice Hill is on a snap count. Is my opinion of it. My that's what I think. I have no proof of that, but I think he's on a snap count, and they're not going to do that. And I think they know that.
I think he's on an offensive snap count because he plays all four phases of special teams. So I guess they're trying to not run him into the ground, so to speak.
And he's injury prone.
He is. He's been dealing with the toe injury all season long, and he had the Achilles a couple of years ago. I like the way he runs. I was really hoping that they were going to feed Keaton Mitchell a few times, and I only saw him on the field for punt coverage and kickoff coverage, so I didn't even see him really get any offensive reps.
Maybe he's not practicing well.
I mean, we'll never know because they completely guard off any meaningful practice reps in front of the media anyway.
Of course, I mean, yeah. Of course, you don't want other teams seeing your shit.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, no doubt. That's not what any team really does these days. Yeah, I'm just Sunday worries me because this is a team on the rise, and
not me.
I'm worried. I'm not gonna lie. I'm worried. No. I wasn't worried this past weekend. Tennessee didn't really bother me, especially my my emotional roller coaster was over by one instead of starting at one. But I'm something worried. Why does this not worry you?
I just think Lamar is going to chew them up and pick the defense apart. I think we're going to hold the ball longer. I think Goff still likes to hold the ball long. Now, look, he's playing lights out. You can say he's a MVP candidate right now. Might even be the leading candidate. He's on fire. But I think the way our defense is getting pressure right now, we're number 2. This is kind of weird saying this about the Ravens as of late, but we are getting sacks. They are getting pressures. We're number 2 in the NFL. That still stands. And I just think he holds the ball too long, and I think it's going to play into our favor. I just have a feeling it's going to be one of those games where, like, remember when San Diego came here or LA, whatever they are, a few years ago, and we just fucking smoked them? I got a feeling, and they came in hot. Remember they were putting up all these points? I just got that feeling in my gut. We're going to fucking do that.
Now, I will say this. Clowney had his best game so far this past season. This past Sunday in Tennessee, he had a 47% pressure rate. He had 4 quarterback hits, 2 sacks, a few tackles. He's on fire right now, but he can't be the only one carrying the load until these other guys get healthy or decide that they want to show up. And now that Clowney and Van Noy are playing a little bit more, I've seen less of the kid Tavius Robinson. I haven't seen him on the field nearly as much since Van Noy got here, and Jeremiah Moon has not
He
seen as
didn't
many snaps.
Yeah, because Robinson didn't need to be on the field, bro. He was terrible. He was terrible on tape. He was in the wrong spot. He couldn't hold the edge. I mean, he looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane right now, kind of like Ben Cleveland. I'm not saying that's the kid's future, but he's a rookie, and it looked like he was a rookie. He was on his ass quite a bit for being such a big dude.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Leave it to Detroit people to be late.
It's a time difference, man. We're giving them a little bit of grace, but we
Nah,
didn't want
it's
to start.
fucking 1 hour time difference.
It's 2. I think it's 2 hours. If I'm
No,
not
it's
mistaken.
1. I went to rehab there many times. It's 1.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
It's 9 o'clock over there. If you think
Right.
about it, we don't even start our show at that time.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Well, you're the one who
very good point.
scheduled it. Why didn't you schedule it for 10:30 to appease to them?
Because I'm gonna be asleep hopefully at 10:30 or at least close to it. What do
Yeah,
you
me
mean?
too.
You know,
I'm tired of my damn self.
yeah, I had a 14-hour day today, man. You know, that's just how things go.
That's
But
called being a man, son.
okay.
Now they're going to take
Okay.
extra fucking taxes out of my check.
One of our guests is on in
Oh,
the studio
snap.
now. There we go.
You better not be wearing
Welcome
a Lions
everybody.
shirt.
No, I'm going to
There
wear
he
my
is.
Lions hat.
Oh, fuck. That's all right.
Welcome everybody to the show. This is Jeremy Volreich from his Detroit Lions podcast, Smokin Jeremy B. How's it going?
Kneecap biting with the Motor City Lions, where I talk about the Lions. I also do one show where I talk about the whole NFL. We do the weekly pick'ems. We go through the whole schedule, not just Lions games. You know, I'm doing pretty good. 53-35 so far.
There you go. That's pretty good. It's pretty good record right there for the pick'ems. We were just kind of going over some of the previous game highlights for the Ravens. We were touching a little bit of what's been going on in practice. You guys are on the rise there, Jeremy. You have a pretty good football team over in Detroit these days. You got a really good head coach, got a very good quarterback, and a pretty stout defense. How's everything going for you guys? You know, in your eyes at least.
It's hard to not sit there and get a big old pipe and hit the hopium super hard, saying that we're going to go all the way. But this is our biggest test, playing you guys. We already had our first hurdle, which was the Kansas City Chiefs. But if you look at our schedule, this is our hardest game left on the roster because you don't know on the schedule because you don't know what Dallas team in prime time you're going to get.
That's fair.
I mean, Dak Prescott in prime time, there's times where he looks like the Dak Prescott of old, and there's other times he looks like Dak Cousins and can't throw a ball except to the other team.
That's a fair assessment.
So you just don't know. And if you look at every other game, it's not even a consistency thing. He doesn't have 2 primetime games or 2 playoff games where he plays great back to back. It's one then the other. And if you look at their primetime schedule, we're in line for the bad Dak Prescott game.
Well, you know, that's we watch them. You know, we don't really talk a whole lot about the Cowboys. They're not on our radar this year, but
right, because they're not on your schedule, but they are on ours because we were second place in the division last year. So you're outside of the 2 divisions you play is all the second place teams, which is why we're playing you this year.
Correct. Right. I wanted to ask you, Jeremy. Your offense seems to be rolling, and Jared Goff is playing at an elite level right now, and the running game seems to be sputtering a tad when Montgomery's not in there. How are you guys? You know, with Jahmyr Gibbs, I know that he was a very high draft pick. A lot of people will kind of question the pick itself, but he's a good running back. It's just that he hasn't really been on the way you guys thought.
His pro camp, if you look at every single scouting profile, his pro camp was Alvin Kamara. And if you look at Alvin Kamara's rookie season, he's actually progressing the exact same way. Alvin Kamara missed a couple games due to small injuries. He also didn't get going right away because Mark Ingram was the main running back. David Montgomery's the main running back here, which that's why they signed him to the contract they did. If you look, that contract is on par with what rookies in their first year get, which means they planned on him being a starter when they signed him because he was replacing Jamal Williams, who was more of the running back 1A when Swift was here because Swift couldn't stay healthy. And I'm not saying that Gibbs is going to be as injury prone as Swift because it's been a different thing because he missed part of a game and then came back and was productive the next game. So that's something we couldn't see out of Swift. Swift, if he had a great game and then had an injury, once he came back from injury, he like disappeared for 3 or 4 games before he got it going again. So I want to see how they utilize him without Montgomery. We did pick Mo Ibrahim back up to the practice squad, and he may get a call up because Craig Reynolds got a little nicked up at the end of the Bucs game as well. So we might be seeing Divine Zigba. Yeah, that's it, Zigba. We might be seeing Divine Ozigba, Mohammed Ibrahim, and Jahmyr Gibbs, who has returned to the practice field this week. Brian Branch has also returned to the practice field, which means, thank God, we may see less of Will Harris because, let's face it, if Isaiah Buggs didn't tip that ball in the air, Mike Evans was gone for a 90-yarders because he was 15 yards behind Will Harris.
I was listening today to the local radio for us, 105.7 The Fan. They were talking about the injury reports, and they did say that Montgomery did not practice at all, and they were talking about Gibbs being, back but in a limited capacity. I wanted to ask you also about somebody in your offense. Jameson Williams is making his season debut this weekend. I know that
he actually came back 2 weeks ago
really?
in the Panthers game because the suspension was remiss because they redid the suspensions. Now, if you bet on a sport outside while at a NFL facility, it's only a 2-week suspension. So they immediately reinstated him week 5.
Okay. I had not really followed. I know that he was supposed to miss
last week
a good portion of the season.
He had 2 catches for 56.3 yards and a touchdown.
Okay, so he seems to be back in.
He's back, Matt.
Seems to be back in full swing then, because that dude is just crazy fast.
He's lightning in a bottle.
I remember, his college career. I watched him a little bit at Alabama. These dudes just fly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious though. How do you think that the offense is going to stack up against this Ravens defense? We're number 2 in the league, as Josh said before you came on. We're number 2 in the league in terms of pass rush
and overall yards.
Yes,
I paid attention to that, and also right now we have the number 1 run defense, and it's not even close. It's 68.4 yards per game we're giving up. You guys are 10th at 98.3. So that's a big disparity, but it's not as much as people think. That means you guys aren't giving up 100 yards per game on an average, but you do allow it every now and then. Am I saying we're going to get 100 yards? No, because last week when David Montgomery went down and we were up against a very good run defense that was in the top 10, the Bucs, we couldn't get it going either. And so we went to more of the screen passing game and stuff like that. And play and still utilize play action to get players open downfield, which, crazy enough, we heard all along when Jared Goff got here, he had a noodle arm, he can't throw the ball deep, blah, 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 blah. Evidently, nobody watched him at Cal, where he was averaging almost 10 yards per attempt downfield. So he does have a deep arm. It's just not that strong arm like a Matt Stafford or Lamar Jackson or Malik Willis, regardless of his accuracy, he can throw the ball a country mile. It just might not get to the target. He could throw sand out of a boat and not hit water.
Yeah,
but right now, Jared Goff is number 1 in in-air passes over 20 yards for completion percentage at 64.2. He's also the number 1 PFF ranked quarterback this season. Lamar Jackson is number 2. And what I do like that your OC is doing is that they got him throwing more out of the pocket than outside the pocket, making him become more of a pure quarterback who can run instead of a running quarterback who can throw. There's a big difference in that disparity.
Absolutely.
Josh, I know you've been talking about that all season. Josh, do you tend to agree?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because 70% of his passes have been out of the pocket this year versus it used to be the other way around. 70% were on rollouts or outside of the
Mm-hmm.
pocket when the pocket broke down, and only 30% in the pocket. And his interception numbers are switching. It's more even now than what it was. The few interceptions he's thrown, it's been from in the pocket and outside the pocket versus all from in the pocket because he's not comfortable.
Yeah, and my biggest thing with him this year that I've loved is that he's reading the pocket. I mean, he's making all of his reads. Watching him on film in years past, it would be two reads tops. Look outside real quick and then go to Andrews, go to the middle, or run. Now you can see him going through 4 or 5 reads, actually hitting his check down, things we've never seen out of Lamar before. So this offense is definitely benefiting him. My big concern is with him in the pocket. Last week he was a lot better, but the week before in Pittsburgh he was terrible with his pocket awareness. He wasn't feeling pressure. There was times he got sacked where he had plenty of room to step up in the pocket. All he had to do was climb the pocket, but he couldn't feel it. But
Right.
last week he was a lot better. His one touchdown throw was a scramble, and it was pressure, blindside pressure that he felt, and he took off and then hit Zay Flowers for a touchdown. So I agree with that.
So I call it like I see it. I'm very honest. And as much as I hate to say it, to the chagrin of all you guys, I pray to God it comes down where we're down 16-17 with a 40-yard field goal to go from the left hash for Riley Patterson. I say 40 on purpose. He doesn't miss from 40 in.
Look, man,
Yeah.
I don't hate the line. I don't hate the Lions. Aren't one of those teams I hate. I think you guys deserve. I like Campbell. I like him from Hard Knocks last year. And I think you're the fan base. You guys do deserve a winning season. You deserve a team in the playoffs. You guys really do deserve it. I just don't want you to win this week.
I know
After
you
this
don't.
week,
I understand. It's no more than I want you guys to win
right.
this week.
Exactly. After this week, go on a winning streak. We'll see you in the Super Bowl.
I mean, we're at 5-1 right now. You guys are at what, 4-2?
4-2.
Should be
Yeah.
undefeated, man. Should be undefeated. We fucked
Well,
ourselves.
not only you can't just blame Lamar against Pittsburgh. Your receivers couldn't catch a cold in Wuhan, China that week.
We don't
We don't blame him for that one.
We don't blame him for that one. Now
the interception we do.
Yeah, the interception that was just a bad throw, but we had 10 drop passes and 4 of them were in the end zone.
Like I said, your receivers
tie that game. Yeah,
right.
They effed them over.
Right, they did. But like I said, that week your wide receivers couldn't catch a cold in Wuhan, China.
Right.
Yeah, that was a bad week. And
but the first 2 weeks the Lions had the same issue. That issue is slowly going away. And what happens when you're a young roster, which you guys are young in the wide receiver room outside of the decrepit Odell Beckham, who's on the injury report more often than he's on the field. But that's another story.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, but he shows flashes where it looks like he's going to be the Odell of old, and then he shows this thing where you're like, wow, old man, can't you get up to where the pass is supposed to be? I mean, I've been watching your games. I've been paying attention, and you get a different Odell in the same game. It's not even from one game to the next. He's very inconsistent, and I think it's because he's still not mentally healthy over that injury.
It just seems like every time he touches the ball, he comes up limping.
Yeah, I think it's a mental thing.
Now, Josh pointed it out after the Cincinnati game. He was looking like the Odell old in Cincinnati. He's running crisp routes. He's drawing double coverage. He catches a slant over the middle, plants his foot wrong. We don't see him for a couple of weeks. He misses the game in Cleveland, which I was hoping that he would kind of have like his breakout game for us. And he comes back this week and he decides to pick a fight with the biggest dude on the Tennessee Titans. And it was for good reason because Simmons, went for Zay Flowers' leg after he was already tackled. But that was, that's neither here nor there. We've been looking for consistency out of Odell, and I'll be the first to admit it on the show. I'm a sucker for big names Jeremy,
he
and
is.
Josh is the realist out of us two. If they were somebody in the 2010s and the early 2020s and they're here now, I think that they can do wonders for us, and they might be on their
He would
last
be
leg. Which
cool
is,
with Randy Moss. If Randy Moss said, "I want to play," Matt would be like, "Get him, get him, get him. We
I
need
would,
him."
I would.
Well,
I'm a
it's
sucker for
almost like
nostalgia.
Quez Watkins, who's actually fast and a decent slot receiver, being hurt for the Eagles. And who do they sign? Old and decrepit Julio Jones, who has an allergy. He looks like he's allergic to the end zone anymore. It's like anytime he gets past the red zone, his hands turn into balloons and the ball bounces right off of it.
Yeah, he's done.
While we're talking about old wide receivers, before we kind of get into some game predictions and all that, Jeremy, does it pain you to see the Detroit Lions this good and Megatron not really sticking around to see this thing through?
No, because actually he's came back in the wide receiver mentor capacity. He's been on the sidelines at a lot of Lions games. He's mentoring the young receivers like Antoine Green and Jamison Williams, and I think that's amazing. So he's actually now a part of the organization now, and he gets to have his bonus money back because that is one of the stipulations for the dead cap from the bonus money paid. You either have to repay it or it becomes dead cap. And he kept asking for his money and asking for his money. And they said, well, we can't afford to give it to you because it counts against our dead cap. And they're absolutely right. So now that he's doing this, he's getting his money and he's being a part of the team. So he was there after the draft with Chris Spielman, Barry Sanders, and Calvin Johnson greeted all the rookies this year.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Now, how cool is that for a rookie coming in? You get to see two Hall of Famers and one of the best linebackers that were ever in Honolulu blue and silver.
The Ravens have done something similar to that, and Josh and I both find it to be really cool where they honor a Raven veteran that's been retired. They honor one at every home game. Marshall Yonda, I believe, is going into the Ring of Honor on Sunday. And
Suggs is, Matt.
It's Terrell Suggs.
Suggs. I'm sorry, Suggs.
Marshall Yonda was the last home game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This dude worked like 20 hours today. He's praying.
Yeah,
I get it.
I'm a little fried right now.
It's okay. It's okay.
But
I knew it was Suggs too because there was a release. There was a release last week on Monday after the fan takeover that happened in Tampa, where your management asked season ticket holders if they had to sell their tickets to give them back to team management to sell to Ravens fans so they don't go online to get for Lions fans to buy.
You guys
they
travel
do that
well.
every week. Yeah, we do that. They do that every week though.
They said they made a specific point to say, please do not put them on StubHub or Ticket Smarter or any of those exchanges because otherwise we're going to look like Tampa and Green Bay.
You guys have been traveling well. I do notice that. I wanted to ask you, Jeremy, kind of getting into the game and the breakdown. What is your biggest matchup for your offense against our defense?
Our O-line against your D-line. Your O-line is a little banged up still. I know you got some back, or is everybody coming back this week?
I think everybody's back.
Everybody's back. Okay, because I know you have been banged up the last 3 weeks. I've been paying attention to the injury reports every day, just like you guys are with us. Hey, know thy enemy. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear your guys are coming back. The only one that's not coming back for us, I believe, is Jonah Jackson. Vitai's been on the field. Gibbs is on the field. Branch is on the field. Montgomery's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks because it is a rib cartilage injury, but they haven't labeled it a tear. If it's a tear, it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks. So I think it's just like a strain of the cartilage between the ribs because he literally, when he fell, it went under the pads and it was the point of the football went between 2 ribs. So that type of injury, you just don't know, especially with how much twisting and turning and with the hip swivel that a running back does, how much it's going to affect them.
I mean, that's true. I've never had to experience that type of injury, and I know a lot of.
It's not fun.
I know that the running backs are prone to getting hit in such a manner, especially when they know the defense knows that they're hurt. Josh, I wanted to ask you, man. I know that Josh is our resident NFL All 22 film guy. He looks at our game from the week before, and he looks at our opponents coming up, and he starts doing some film assessment. Josh, what do you think is the biggest matchup to look for with their offense and our defense?
I think it's, can we protect the pocket and keep Lamar standing up? Like I said earlier, they don't generate a lot of pass rush. With the exception of Hutchinson, there's not much. So Lamar's going to have time, but something's going to have to break because they're pretty good. Like I said earlier, you can't run against them. They're not giving up any rushing yards, and they're pretty good against the pass. So something's going to have to give, bro. I'm hoping Lamar has time in the pocket and he can pick them apart.
Pascal is returning this week too.
Yeah, I saw
The
that.
last time when Hutchinson had sacks, Pascal was on the field.
Yeah.
Hutchinson's a monster. He's just
He's tied with Max Crosby for the most pressures in the league. Right now, the Lions overall, and when you say we don't generate a pass rush, it's kind of misleading because we're actually leading in team pressures as well.
Yeah.
I was, doing my research. Josh, has a lot more access. The biggest matchup I see is Amon Ra against our secondary, and it's gonna be interesting to see who on the defense covers Amon Ra. And
right, because if you put Humphreys on Williams because he's on the field, Amon Ra's going to eat all day.
And I don't think it's going to happen. I think that they're going to put Stevens. They're going to put Stevens.
Our secondary's good, man. I don't see anybody having a huge day.
I mean,
it all depends on what they do with Amon Ra. If they give him attention that he deserves as the number one wide receiver for the Lions, I see it being one of those situations where Stevens is going to mirror Williams wherever he goes, and then we're going to have Yasin and Darby on your, wide receiver 3. Marlon's probably going to kick inside because the last couple
Marlon
times
hasn't looked right. I'm worried about Marlon. He has not looked right.
Yeah, he had a couple of good games, and then I noticed you don't really hear his name anymore. And I was going to ask you,
from injury? He just got back from injury.
Okay, that's why. Okay, but I was going to say, prior to the injury, how was he looking?
Oh, great.
He was looking fantastic, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, best corners in football. Yeah, he got hurt.
It's unfortunate,
I just want to say kudos to Jerry Jacobs, a UDFA player from 2021 who's able to stick around on this roster, make the active roster, fill in for Emmanuel Mosley, and tied for the lead in interceptions this year at 3.
Wow. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm familiar with that, that much depth on the Lions team. I didn't even know Mosley was hurt.
Mosley got hurt the second snap he played 1 year to the day versus the same exact team he hurt the opposite ACL with San Francisco.
Wow.
So literally he had one more play than Abraham attended. Abraham Lincoln, I'm talking about.
I wanted to get your thoughts, Jeremy. I know that we're getting a little bit into the you guys on defense and with us on offense. Let's kind of flip the script a little bit. How do you feel matching up against the Ravens offense? What's your biggest?
My biggest fear, because
concern?
Aaron Glenn has said 1,000,000 times he refuses to spy, is QB design runs with Lamar Jackson.
We don't. I
know you're not doing it now because Greg Roman isn't here. But if this was the time your OC is going to break one out, this would be the week. That's what I'm saying.
Some games where Lamar's had like 8 or 9 design runs, so it's not out of the question.
I mean, it's not completely out of the question. I think they've avoided it, like what you alluded to earlier, Jeremy, that they really want to make him a pocket passer and they want to put, throwing the ball at the forefront of his mind. And I guess now with the $260+ million investment, that they're going to be a little skeptical of letting him run. But if there's no spy on him, that's going to spell trouble because
which means we'll have to contain them like we did when we had that dog crap roster in 2021. We only allowed him one big run, if you remember right, in that game. He had like a 30-yarder. He had 6 other runs other than that, and he ended up with a total of 58 yards on 7 carries for 8.3 yards. So we're going to have to do that same type of thing without a spy. And Aaron Glenn's done it once, but it still scares the crap out of me because last year when Hurt started doing design runs, he had almost 100 yards on us and 2 touchdowns.
I know it's a little late in the show, it's a little late in the game, but one of our guests from Detroit just got done wrapping up high school sports in Michigan. Jeremy, welcome Tom Greene. Josh, Tom Greene. He has another Detroit podcast. What's going on, brother?
Hey guys, yeah, apologies when I accepted the time frame, I was under the impression I had to do a soccer district final when my team ended up losing on Tuesday. So just about everything that went wrong did, and that's why we're so late in the show. But it's great to join you guys, and looking forward to talking with you.
Nice to meet you, Tom.
You too, definitely. For those that are new to hearing and seeing me, I am a sports writer for the Huron Daily Tribune, Bad Axe, Michigan, covering 10 high school teams in Michigan's thumb. Personal Twitter is at TomTV23. I'm sure you guys you guys have probably seen. Sometimes I can get a little adverse on there to be fun. Podcast Twitter is at Tom Greene Pod. So how's it going, gentlemen?
Awesome, man. Looking forward to a good game on Sunday.
Yes, we are.
Yes, definitely. Looking forward to it.
When the Ravens win.
Tom, just to kind of catch up to speed a little bit, Tom, sure. Jeremy joined the show a little bit ago, and we've been talking about some Ravens and Lions breakdown for offense and defense. We're, a little bit into that portion of our show where we're talking about some key matchups. And just to kind of bring you up to speed, we've talked about, Amon-Ra, being the wide receiver 1. Jameson Williams having a good game in his return last week. And Jeremy and Josh were really alluding to the battle in the trenches with the Ravens and the Lions and how that could be a key matchup for the game. And decidedly, will favor whoever the victor may be. And we're going to be getting to the portion soon where we're going to do player of the game and score predictions. But I wanted to get your thoughts though, just before we move on. What do you see as the biggest matchup for the Detroit offense and the Ravens defense heading into the game?
To be completely honest, so you were talking about the trenches, and a lot of this is going to be in the trenches because David Montgomery, I believe he did not practice today, and so Dan Campbell is going to have to bring in Jahmyr Gibbs, whether he likes it or not. We understand that Gibbs has not played a lot, and Campbell is a guy that tends to be easing players into the lineup, and this is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs' first test. So my first initial thought is Jahmyr Gibbs against the Ravens interior line, and any team that is coached by a Harbaugh is going to have a tough trench team. So we know that John Harbaugh is going to have his defense ready to go into the trenches. So Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be tested in his first start. That's for sure.
That's very true. We don't really talk about our D line a whole lot, especially on the interior. Josh and I do on our recap shows more so than during the middle of the week. That interior defensive line is very stout. I'm sure you guys are a little familiar with Michael Pierce from his time as a Minnesota Viking. Justin Madubuike is leading the league. He's in top 5 for all defensive tackles with sacks. I believe he has 4.5. Correct, Josh?
Sure does, buddy.
He has 4.5 sacks this year. He's leading the interior lineman with pressures. Broderick Washington signed a 3-year extension for about $18 million over the offseason. He's earning every penny. Brent Urban's been playing rather well in spot duties. So it's, that's going to be a very big, matchup, seeing your offensive line go against a pretty stout interior. And it was nice to hear somebody else allude to it other than Josh and I just, propping the guys up after a win. But kind of flipping over to the other side, what do you see as the biggest matchup with your offense and our defense?
Oh, me? We're
Yes,
talking
sir.
Ravens
Yes.
offense against Lions defense.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. So I'm thinking it's going to be a lot of wide receiver versus secondary play. I know that Lamar is more of a running quarterback, but Todd Monken has kind of changed that offense this year into more of a throwing style offense for Lamar. And so Jerry Jacobs is going to be tested again this week. I mean, he had a bad game against Seattle, let's be honest here. But since then um, he has either had an interception or played a big part in a turnover since. And Zay Flowers or Odell Beckham against Jerry Jacobs is going to be a key matchup to watch for this week because, like I said, Jacobs stumbled in the loss, but he has recovered since. And a Baltimore team is going to have the secondary tested, and of course the defensive line. Not just because Todd Monken's changed the offense a little bit doesn't mean that he's not going to run. Lamar is always a threat to run, is because when you forget about the run's going to happen. So, first matchup would be wide receivers against Jerry Jacobs, and second would be the running threat against the defensive line.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Tom, because
Yeah.
especially Jacobs, because Jeremy referenced Jacobs about 10, 15 minutes ago in the show, saying how that he's
literally
been,
did.
yes, and about how he's had a pretty good stretch run, you know, all things considered. And Jeremy alluded to it before you came onto the show, Tom,
Sure.
that Aaron Glenn does not run spies on the defense at all, and that might be a problem for you guys. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Ever since the bye week of last year, the Lions have been a top tier defense, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean there isn't luck involved. The secondary has been a problem with Detroit over the start of this season, but it hasn't been a bad enough of a problem to where we're worried about a big loss. So I would expect the secondary to be tested, and Jacobs. Like I said, Jacobs has had a nice stretch run, but that does, but can that continue? And Will Harris has had to take over for Brian Branch, and is Brian Branch back this week? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, Brian
He is.
Branch is back. I
He is
mentioned
back
that
this
too.
week. He is back this week, so that's going to be huge. But will that ankle hold up? We hope so. He's going to
Well,
come back, and so
he was actually cleared, but there was a
what?
chance of re-injury last week. So they kept him out another week just to
Okay,
make sure it was more secure. So
sure.
I think it's going to be fine. Same with
Okay.
Jahmyr Gibbs. He wanted to play last week, and the doctors cleared him, but said the chance of re-injury was too high.
Mhm.
This is one thing I'm going to give this new medical staff we hired in towards the end of
Sure.
last year when we fired the other one. If there's a chance of re-injury, they don't put a guy in if it's over 20%.
That's definitely good because, in fact, sort of back in my coverage area in high school, I'm not going to talk about it much. But there's a quarterback that's had a hamstring injury that has we're a little bit fearful of re-aggravation. So that's good that Detroit staff has that to where chance of re-injury isn't going to happen. So thankfully that should be good. So hopefully Branch will get back to his ways for sure. He's
Right.
had a hell of a rookie season for sure.
I also want to
Branch,
mention something you guys probably don't realize out of our wide receiver room is Josh Reynolds has really picked up his play this
Yes.
year, and every catch that he's had this season has either been a first down or a touchdown.
I always have maybe suspicion isn't the right word, but I always have a thing to where when a guy gets traded to another team and you bring in one of the old guys with him, it's going to click easily, and that's what happened with Jared Goff and Josh Reynolds. Is Goff was iffy to start his tenure in Detroit. Once he brought in Josh Reynolds, you have that tandem from back in Los Angeles, and that's helped. And he hasn't used Reynolds a lot, but when he has used him, like you had said, Jeremy, he has been very effective.
Yep. And also, you have to look at what happened at the beginning of the season that first year we had Goff. We had an OC that didn't want him here. I found that out because I also write for the Motor City Tribune, and I've interviewed a few players, one of them being Charles Harris.
Yeah, you see, when there's friction in the locker room, that's never good. So it's good that Ben Johnson is very accepting and wants him here for sure.
Yes. I mean, Ben Johnson took him into the film room last season before it started. And that's when you seen the maturation between Goff and Ben Johnson happen. That connection was made because they went over the whole 2018 film room of every play through the Super Bowl for every play that worked and said, "Did you really like this play or not?" And those plays were brought in. And we haven't seen all those plays they brought in. They brought in about 45 plays from the 2018 season when Jared Goff was pretty much money. And he's starting off this season, and we've seen plays we haven't seen, and he's been pretty much money.
And that's a good thing, especially moving forward. Is when the offense gets clicking, oh man, is it fun? And just a little bit more defense, and thankfully we've had timely good defense, and it's good. It's good to hold the team on the road to 6 points. I mean, we'll see. Jury's out on how exactly good Tampa Bay is, but they beat the Minnesota Vikings. They beat an NFC North team, so that means there's something. So we'll see what happens this week for sure.
Absolutely. So, kind of wrapping up the show, guys. I know we're getting towards the hour mark, and it's getting to be a little late for everybody involved. We're gonna go to the final segment, and we're gonna do our pick to click and our score prediction. So, guys, how that works? You just pick a player of the game, give us your score prediction. If you have anything bold that you want to predict for the game, you can say it during your piece. Since you guys are our guests on our show. Jeremy, will lead off with you. Who do you believe is going to be the player of the game, and what do you believe the score is going to be in Baltimore this weekend?
I'm going to do an unsung hog molly from the D line. Lee McNeil. I think he's going to have his breakout game. Ever since Bugs came out, he's been getting pressure from interior. I think he's going to continue to do so. You might even see a sack out of him because when he gets through, it's quick. He has very quick feet for a big guy because he was a former running back in high school, and he just got so big by his senior year. They said, "Yeah, you're not going to be a running back anymore. You're going on defense." So, I mean, he ran a 4.8 40 for a 300-pounder.
Pretty fast.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's my guy. And the score prediction, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. Lions win 19-17. I think this is going to be a very low scoring game. Bet the under.
Fair enough. Tom, let's hear it, man.
Alrighty.
Player of the game?
Bet the under. Alrighty. So, player of the game, I'm going to go kind of a little bit off script, but not entirely. And I'm going to go Amon-Ra, and it's because the running game will maybe be stuffed by that Baltimore defensive line. Goff is going to have to go to the air. And guess who's back? Back again. Amon-Ra's back. Tell a friend. So Amon-Ra, I think, is going to be a player of the game. I think he'll have 80 yards and a touchdown. I have a little bit higher scoring than Jeremy does. Unfortunately, and I hope that I am wrong, I had chalked this up as a loss to start the year, and I kind of stick by it because Baltimore's a tough place to play. And the last time the Lions played at Baltimore,
And won.
Baltimore, yeah, it was not good for the Lions there. So I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that Jeremy is right. But officially, I'm going to go Baltimore 27, Detroit 20. A little bit higher scoring. I hope I'm wrong, but I do think that Flowers finds the end zone once. Justice Hill finds the end zone once. Lamar Jackson finds the end zone once. Odell finds the end zone once for Baltimore. Give me Amon-Ra for a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs for a touchdown, and Jamison Williams for a touchdown for Detroit.
Okay, I'm gonna come back to you and ask the lottery numbers if you get half that right. So,
yeah, because we were talking about Odell before you got here, Tom.
He's on my fantasy team as well, so it would be nice to see a breakout game from him.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Now I get it.
Same here. He's on my fantasy team. But Josh, this is my favorite part of the show with you, buddy, because you are very unpredictable in the scores that you give and the predictions that you give. So let's let our great guest from Detroit hear your predictions.
All right, my pick to click player of the game. Oh man, I'm thinking about this a lot. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Zay Flowers. I just got a feeling he's going to get open, and he had his first pro touchdown last week. I got a feeling he's going to get a couple more. Score, man. I'm gonna go. I think it's going to be a lot of scoring. I'm gonna go 37-10 Ravens. I just got a good feeling about this game, man. M&T is going to be rocking. Like I told you earlier, Matt, this game reminds me of that Chargers game like 2 years ago. They were coming in hot. Everybody was, worried about them, and we smoked them. And the Ravens usually do that for some reason. I just got a feeling, man. I just got a good feeling about this week.
You had me in the first half of that score prediction, and then you drop 37-10. Guys, I say this literally every prediction show. Josh tries the shock and awe factor with our guest and gives some of the most lopsided, disrespectful scores
But that's
ever.
what I believe. That's what I believe.
Now, I will say this. Now, guys,
he's trying to sugarcoat it. That's what I believe.
That's fine.
Yes,
it's fine.
It is.
I've heard worse. Trust me.
It, Matt, be quiet. Jesus.
Let him have it.
That's my prediction. Stop explaining it to
don't
people.
Don't apologize.
No, I gotta do it. I do it.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize. Don't apologize for his homerism. It's okay.
Oh,
as
man.
a couple of my betting friends in the world.
Saying, no, it's not homerism. It's really not.
I'm just playing. It's.
Anyway, I know. I'm just saying, but no offense to you guys, but when I think of the Lions, I really do think people with bags in their head at empty Ford Stadium. I don't respect you guys yet. Yeah, and I don't respect, and I got to be honest, I don't respect you guys yet. I know you're 3-1, 4-1, whatever you are.
5-1.
5-1. All right. I mean, you started off good. Like I said, I like Dan Campbell. I like him from Hard Knocks. He was funny. I just don't yet, and I think you guys got to learn a lot of people's respect. You've been bad for a long time, man. Really long time. So you're kind of just getting your feet wet in the relevant game. The Ravens. We haven't won a Super Bowl in 10 years now, 11 years now. It's been a while, but we've
never been to a Super Bowl, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, hey, I've been very fortunate to see my team win too. I always keep the rings close. Maybe you guys will get one day. I'm not sure. It's a good feeling, man. It's a real good feeling.
Oh my God, his shit talking is on another level.
Well, sometimes you got to be bold, as two of my betting friends, Kelly in Vegas and Ariel Epstein, who was a Ravens fan, say, scared money don't make no money. So be bold.
Ariel Epstein's been on local radio before, so yeah. I'm gonna round out the conversation for the score predictions and the player of the game. I'm gonna go off the beaten path a little bit with the player of the game, and I believe it's going to be Justin Madubuike. I think that he's going to have a very good game on the inside. I think he's going to get 1.5 sacks. I think he's going to round his total up to 6 for the year against your interior offensive line. And I don't think the game is going to be as high scoring as Josh predicted, but I think this game is going to be a 24-21 Ravens contest. I think Justin Tucker comes in late, kicks a field goal, and the defense seals the deal. I'm expecting a big game out of the defense. So 3 touchdowns might be a little bit, high on my prediction end, but I think the defense is going to shut you guys down when it matters, and we're going to walk out of M&T Bank with a win on Sunday afternoon. But I want to thank you guys for coming on. I know that our schedules didn't completely align, and life gets in the way, work gets in the way for everybody involved tonight. After this weekend, I wish you guys the best of luck. Take over the NFC North. And before I let you guys go, yeah, that too. It'd be nice. Before I let you guys go,
I just want revenge for that 2021 game. That's all.
There you go.
I think that's the game Justin Tucker broke the field goal record. Is it?
You think?
Yeah,
that is.
Yeah, City. What the fuck?
My very first game review was written on that game. I've never been in journalism. I've never done any of that, and I wrote a game review and submitted it to a friend that owns his own publication, and I called it the greatest kick that never should have happened.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Justin Tucker.
Hey man, for months I used to watch the Lions fans' reaction on YouTube, man. It made me so happy.
But yet,
oh god,
I did not. Even though we lost that game because of a bad call, I didn't blame it on that bad call. I blamed it on the timeout we took on second down, which gave you guys more time.
Yeah, because honestly, in my sort of view of it is that call would have, I believe it would have allowed the Ravens to huddle. I don't quote me on that, but it potentially would have set up a different play that either would have maybe nixed the field goal or made the field goal closer. So,
no, the right tackle moved when the clock hit 0. 2 seconds later, the ball was hiked. And then they spiked the ball with 7 seconds left on the clock. And by the letter of the rule, they didn't have any timeouts. There had been a 10-second runoff, and Detroit would have won 17-16.
Okay. That makes sense, yeah.
But at that point, I more blame that timeout while you guys were driving on second down when we just sacked Lamar, and he called a timeout because he didn't like the look of the defense.
Neither here
that
nor
stopped
there.
the clock.
It did. You're right.
You guys didn't have any timeouts. That stopped the clock. You wouldn't have had that 7 seconds had he not stopped the clock. Is what I'm getting at.
I'm just happy. I'm just happy our guy made it.
Fantastic kick, and I give Justin Tucker all the kudos in the world for making the kick. And I even said that. I said that's a Herculean kick, is what I called it.
It definitely was. But gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Before we let you guys go, let everybody know where they can find you on social. Tom, I know you plugged when you first came on. I'll let you plug again. But Jeremy, where can everybody find your written work, and where can everybody find your podcast?
Well, I write for the South Florida Tribune. It's a subsidiary of it called the Motor City Tribune. If you go to southfloridatribune.com, there is a little header that has the 3 hash marks pulled down, and you can find my writings under the Motor City Tribune. You can also find my podcast, which is Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, on YouTube, Twitter, and also on Facebook at my Motor City Kneecap Biters page. And you can find me at Smokin Jeremy on Twitter.
Thank you so much,
there we go.
Tom.
Yes, definitely. For my professional work and writings, I do high school work for the Thumb of Michigan, Huron Daily Tribune. We can be found at michigansthumb.com for my high school work, and for my professional work here for Tom Greene podcast, which I talk Detroit sports. I mean, Michigan, Red Wings, Lions, Pistons, Tigers. In fact, I had a mini rant about the stealing signs thing today. You can find it on my new podcast, which I'll be tweeting out probably tomorrow morning. The podcast Twitter is at Tom Greene Pod. Greene spelled Greene. Personal Twitter is at TomTV23. Sometimes I call it a cesspool because I go off and sometimes to many different tangents sometimes. But you want to find me there, Tom Greene Pod and TomTV23. Give me a follow. I'll follow back.
Thank you guys again so much. And Josh, this is the part of the show where you shut it down, my man.
All right, we're not doing nothing special tonight, everybody. It's 11 o'clock. I got kids. I'm tired. I got work in the morning. Let's kick some Lion ass. Good luck to you fellas after the game, like Matt said earlier. It's all in good fun. Good night. Shut it down, man. I'm tired, man.
Good evening.
Good evening.